How's it going, everybody? Welcome to the channel. As always, if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe. It helps out, means a ton. You guys get plenty of fun stuff, not just Jujutsu Kaisen. We cover plenty of manga on the channel, so stick around, check it out, see if anything else catches your interest. But with that being said, we got to get into it because we got to get into the Curse Technique Tournament. That's right, we're taking 16 random, unassuming individuals and slapping each one of them with the Curse Technique at random, and we're going to make them all fight to the death. Okay, now, seriously, we're just taking 16 curse techniques at random, in random orders, and we are slapping them on nameless, faceless people. Fighter A will get one curse technique, and Fighter B will get another curse technique. Outside of what curse technique they have, they are completely even. They have the same amount of stamina, they punch just as hard, they think just as quickly, they move just as fast. Everything is dead even. So we're basically just going to find out which curse technique is better or stronger or whatever you want to say when it comes to a 1v1 confrontation. That's basically what this is going to be. Oh, and I almost forgot, nothing like domain expansions, reverse curse techniques, nothing like that, because, well, we haven't seen those for all of these different techniques, so I can't just make them up for the ones that we haven't seen them for and use the canon ones for the ones that we have seen them for. And then, no, we're sticking to just the base techniques and extension techniques and stuff like this. And this is basically how the brackets are going to shake down so far. I know you could pretty much tell this by the thumbnail, but I want to keep the other ones a secret. Maybe I should put them up there, but I think it's more fun this way. You guys get to see as the videos come out. Anyway, yeah, I'm not doing them all in one video. That would be like 15, 16 matchups, and I don't want to be constrained for time, and I don't want to make a 45-minute video about this. So today we have rounds 1 and 2 of Group A. As you can already see, those are going to be puppet manipulation versus idol transfiguration, and the cloning technique versus projection sorcery. Then we will also have the same for Group B, Group C, and Group D. We will then move on to the quarterfinals, onto the semifinals, which will have a bonus round tacked onto it, and then the grand finals at the very end. You may say, why don't you just put the bonus with the grand finals? Isn't that the big video? Well, I don't want the grand finals to share any spotlight. It's special. It gets to be its own thing. So just slap the extra stuff on the semifinals and make that share its own spotlight. Anyway, yeah, getting into it. Round 1 of Group A. As I have stated already, and you are well aware of by now, we have puppet manipulation on Fighter A versus idol transfiguration on Fighter B. Now, this is kind of interesting because, well, we actually got to see the users of both of these techniques fight in the actual story, being Mahito for idol transfiguration and Kokichi Muda or Mechamaru for puppet manipulation. And, well, it kind of went Mahito's way there, but like I said, we're not taking the characters into account here. We're just looking at the curse techniques. And for a while, I was kind of on puppet manipulation side. I was sitting there thinking, well, it kind of takes away the biggest strength or the biggest killing maneuver, I guess you could say, that idol transfiguration has, and it's that almost one-hit KO no matter what, just touch to the belly and you just soul goes to crap and you just die because, well, I think pretty much every organ fails in your body when Mahito does that to you. Anyway, yeah, I'm sitting there thinking that puppet manipulation, if you are staying away from combat, now keep in mind, all puppet manipulation users don't have the same range that Kokichi Muda does. This is why I'm saying don't think of the characters, we're taking it away from them, just the curse technique. Because Kokichi Muda has a heavenly restriction that vastly increases the range at which he can output his cursed energy, giving him basically the ability to control a puppet from across Japan if he wanted to. Most puppet manipulation users don't have the same amount of range as he does, so you can't just stay in another city and not worry about it at all. You do have to be somewhere around. We actually don't know the typical range. But either way, I'm sitting there thinking, well, a puppet can, wear down an idol transfiguration user, at least to the point where they're weak, don't have a lot of cursed energy left, and then the puppet manipulation user can probably finish the job or just bring in another puppet. But I stopped and thought about the fact that Mahito doesn't just constantly heal all the time, and he is not just this unkillable machine outside of when you attack his soul, just because he's a curse spirit. It's because you have to attack his soul. A typical puppet manipulation user doesn't have attacks that directly attack someone's soul. So as long as the Idle Transfiguration user has curse energy at their disposal, they can use that to heal the wounds inflicted by the puppets as long as it takes them to get to the actual user. So basically this will boil down to a fight of attrition. Can the puppet manipulation user hurt the Idle Transfiguration user enough times to where they have to use up too much curse energy healing themselves by fixing their body, by fixing their soul, whatever Mahito does, because yes, you can do that with Idle Transfiguration. The shape of the body is based off of the shape of the soul, so when the body is injured, you can heal that by correcting the shape of the soul, healing it, doing whatever weird jujutsu stuff you do with it. I'm not an expert, I don't have the technique, I'm not a sorcerer, leave me alone. Anyway, yeah, if they can get to the puppet manipulation user and get through the puppets, and still have enough cursed energy left over to finish the job, because, well, typically a puppet manipulation user by themselves, even if they are proficient at hand-to-hand combat, once again, even playing field for the fighters here, so Idle Transfiguration is just as proficient, puppet manipulation user can't really do the same things with their body that an Idle Transfiguration user can. So if Idle Transfiguration can get up close, it's a done deal. They can do spiky club hands and all kinds of weird crap, chain blade whip things. They can do weird stuff, okay? So yeah, gets up close, gets past the puppets, it's kind of a done deal. If the Idle Transfiguration user could not heal themselves by healing their soul or whatever, or if the puppet manipulation user had a way to attack their soul directly, I think it would actually go the way of puppet manipulation. But thanks to that one little technique allowing the Transfiguration user to heal themselves, which is kind of a big deal in a 1v1, let's be honest, they are going to actually take the win, and they will be the first one in the tournament to move on to the quarterfinals, which, well, we will have at a later date. We're going to have to get through the rest of the groups. So, on to round 2 of Group A, we have the cloning technique versus projection sorcery. Now, I don't really need to explain to many people what projection sorcery is. It's used by both Naobito and Naoya Zenin, two pretty prominent characters in the series at this point. And yeah, it makes you go zoom zoom, and when you touch people, if they don't go zoom zoom quite like you do, they freeze for 1 second and you get to line up a shot and just absolutely annihilate them. That's just kind of what you do, especially you go zoom zoom. Anyway, yeah, okay, now it splits their movements into like 24 frames per second, and they move across that, and they do have to abide by the laws of physics and everything to a certain degree. They can't just zip in one direction and immediately zip back in the other direction. You have to take momentum into account and curve and do things like that. You can't just do wacky things. Your bones would just squish to one side of your body if you tried to... Yeah, sorry. Anyway, Jujutsu doesn't fix everything. I don't know what to tell you. So yeah, projection sorcery versus the cloning technique. This actually was somebody who Gojo fought in his flashback. And this technique allows the user to have 4 or 5 clones, I think. Either way, I think 4 clones, 5 in total, including themselves. And the user can switch between the clones freely at will. So their original body can go from this one to this one to that one to that one anytime it wants. And Gojo actually did state in the flashback that this is a pretty impressive technique, but the user, who is just a dude with a bag mask over his face, don't really get to know much about him. Anyway, yeah, the user was subpar according to Gojo's standards or by his judgment. Now, Gojo probably has pretty high standards, but still, either way, it is stated to be a pretty impressive technique. He even said it was something that Jujutsu High would like to have on their side. He's just talking about the technique, not the person, kind of like we're doing today. But anyway, getting down to the fight itself, I actually think on this one, cloning has a really, really, really good shot. Now, it's for one key thing, kind of like Idle Transfiguration one, kind of because of the healing thing. Cloning, I think, is going to win because of the fact that it can freely switch between the clones and the real body at will. This causes a problem for projection sorcery. Projection sorcery kind of really excels at annihilating a single target opponent by setting them up for a big shot, swooping back around within that 1 second time frame, which is easy to do with your super speed, and annihilating them, kind of like I said. So yeah, when it turns out you have 5 different opponents, and you have to hit all of them to try and make sure you hit the actual one, that causes a problem for projection sorcery as long as the cloning user stays spread out at least a little bit. As long as the cloning technique user isn't a complete idiot and stands in a specific way to where the projection user can swoop by and tap every single one of them, and then swoop back around and annihilate every single one of them, they can always just switch to a different body. So yeah, the Projection Sorcerer can run around and do all this fancy stuff, freezing them and kicking them and going super fast and using up all their energy and doing all this. The cloning user just has to whoop over and... Oh, he's coming for this one now, crap. Whoop. Ah, you went for the wrong one this time. Yeah, stupid. Oh, me next. Whoop. That's all they have to do. They can just dodge and dodge and dodge and let the Projection Sorcerer kind of wear themselves out. Once again, if this does come down to attrition, I think cloning is going to win. I'm sorry, I think just standing there with clones or just kind of fighting back physically but having clones active is a little less draining than going like that around the battlefield as fast as you can, trying to punch everybody as quickly as you can. I'm sorry, I think super speed takes up more energy and uses more cursed energy than just standing there. So if they have equal levels of cursed energy, which they would, they are even fighters, A and B, I think we're kind of looking at cloning being the victor. I don't see how Projection Sorcery can really handle this. And on top of this, Projection Sorcery, like all of these things, are cursed techniques, so activating and deactivating is kind of a big thing. So they're not always going super fast. Cloning actually kind of seems like a technique that can just kind of be activated and stay activated. Certain techniques are a little bit harder to maintain than others. Projection Sorcery, super speed, kind of being one of those that is a little bit harder to maintain. So while I do think Projection Sorcery is a very strong technique, I think it kind of just lost the matchup this time. It's just not really a great matchup for cloning. You're kind of just going to get jumped. I think that's kind of how this is going to play out. You're going to be beating the crap out of all of these clones. You're going to be freezing a lot of them, kicking a lot of them. You're going to be doing a lot of damage, but the damage is going to go nowhere because it's going to be really, really hard to hit the actual person you're trying to hit. They can just move to a different clone. So yeah, unfortunately, Projection Sorcery taking an early L here, which is something that I doubt a whole lot of people expected. I know I didn't really expect it, even when I initially put it against cloning. I was like, oh no, Projection Sorcery, it's going to get that. As soon as I sat down and actually started thinking about it, I thought, oh crap. They can always just move to a different body and avoid the big attack. So yeah, sorry, between attrition and not being able to pin the cloning technique down, Projection's taking the L. So yeah, that's round 2. The second technique to move on in this Cursed Technique tournament to the quarterfinals will be the cloning technique over top of Projection Sorcery. So our first matchup in the quarterfinals will end up being Idle Transfiguration versus the cloning technique. We'll see if cloning's maneuverability and hard to hitness, even though that's not a good way to describe it, well, it is just not a good way to say it. Makes you sound kind of dumb, but hey, that's all right. We'll see if that ends up pulling them through against another pretty high-level technique. But we're going to have to wait for the quarterfinals for that one. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and let me know your thoughts down below, and I'll see you guys next time. I'm out.